Hello everyone, welcome to the F2 show. Yes, Fraser Ford is not hosting this week. He's actually on a beach somewhere, I think, drinking a pina colada, something like that. You might recognize my voice. I usually do the commentary for the Formula 2 Championship. My name's Chris McCarthy. A pleasure to be now hosting the F2 show for this week. Who knows? I might be hosting it all the time if I do good enough. So Fraser, you might be good to stay on the Sun Lounger after this. Just kidding, of course. Fraser is, I'm sure, enjoying his holidays. He's going to be back from the 30th of June, but he has trusted me to host it this week, so no pressure at all. But I do have two regular members to the show to help me through this process, and that is Aaron and Martin, of course. And a great week, I think, to come and make my debut doing this on, guys. What a weekend Formula 2 racing we had. Action-packed all the way through. We had new pole sitters, new home winners, and new championship leaders coming in all the way through, and a sprint race. I think that will go down in history. Aaron, let's come to yourself first. What a sprint race that was. I think a nice way to end the triple header, wasn't it? I think we all need a breather after that. What were your thoughts on the weekend overall?
Oh, it was classic Formula 2. You didn't know where to look next because it just looks like it's all settling down, and then it all gets thrown up in the air again, and it's fantastic and it's crazy. And to see the drivers at the front in the sprint race just on absolutely dead hard tires, and the drivers who had taken the plunge to go into the pit lane and risk. Well, for some of the drivers, they weren't risking anything because they were on for no points as it was. So it was a calculated gamble, and it paid off big time, didn't it? With Richard Verschoor getting that brilliant victory, and he followed it up the next day with a podium. So yeah, a great weekend for him, and it was incredible because I didn't see the sprint race live, but I knew when I watched it back that Verschoor had won, and I was like, how on earth, after his start, does he end up winning this thing? And in true Formula 2 fashion, it gave us everything and more. It must have been such a pleasure for you to commentate on that, and also very, very breathless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was one of those where I think people, if you just joined the end, you didn't really know how that happened. If you just looked at the grid, and you really did not expect that to be the three drivers that walked out on the podium, just purely because of where they started. And we definitely did need a sit down at the end of that. Martin, let's come to yourself next. I mean, a triple header that's had a bit of everything, but a nice way to end, wasn't it, with those results? And the championship as a whole has just got even closer now with what we had there at Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to come from Aaron's point and to quote Alex Jakes, anything can happen in Formula 2, and it usually does. The triple header as a whole was very chaotic, and I think Barcelona in the sprint race, it exemplified that. In the feature race, it calmed down slightly, and we had a bit of a strategy race. We had drivers coming through at the end and the safety car, which kind of stopped that from fully coming to fruition. But I thought the round as a whole, I think what I was looking for was for a little bit less chaos, almost, in terms of the way people were driving, and just a little bit less action almost than Monaco. And that's what we got. The chaos that we did get was in the sprint race, with the bottom half of the field taking the strategy gamble. But as you say, they're on for no points, and it really paid off. And yeah, it was really worth doing for them. So yeah, excited to get into it.
It really was. I mean, the sprint race, fantastic in the end. Richard Verschoor coming through to take that win. For context, Alex Dunne came from 19th to 2nd after taking a 13th place grid drop. And then Rafael Villagomez came from dead last to get a podium finish. So, and then the feature race was a little bit more straightforward with Arvid Lindblad, who took pole position and came through to take the win. But still, a race that had a bit of excitement all the way through. Actually, with strategy, we did have a late safety car which prevented Jack Crawford from possibly challenging from second place, but he got a bit of luck with the safety car in Monaco, so I think he kind of deserved that. Yeah, just a little bit. So maybe the luck didn't quite fall his side this time. But let's pick up with Campos Racing. Arvid Lindblad, not the youngest pole sitter. I did create that record for him for a few hours. Sorry, Theo Porsche. He still has that record. It was good while it lasted for Arvid for a few hours. But 6 pole sitters in 6 rounds we've had in Formula 2, a new record for the championship. I want to come to you, Aaron, for this. Campos Racing, their first win on home soil in Formula 2. And for them, they're really accelerating now in this championship, possibly going for their first championship win in Formula 2. And Arvid, who's been heavily tipped for a seat to go into Formula 1, to get now a sprint race win, a pole position, and a feature race win, he's looking good, isn't he? Both in championship context and in his wider career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's setting himself up really, really well, isn't he? And it was a complete weekend. I think it's the most complete weekend we've seen from him so far. Obviously, he got the sprint win in Jeddah, but to deliver the pole position, it wasn't like it was. It's always fairly close in Formula 2, but by Formula 2 standards, it wasn't particularly close. It was almost, if he puts the lap in and he doesn't make a mistake, then he's more than likely to be on pole position. He did exactly that on Friday, quality lap, and then nailed the start Sunday morning and drove away. It was textbook stuff because he was in the clean air, so he could look after his tyres. He could pit when he wanted to. He just had to manage his pace against everybody else, cover off the threat of the alternate strategy. And the alternate strategy was going to get you maybe second at best, possibly a third with Jack Crawford. And Lindblad was just nowhere to be seen. He won without the safety car. He'd have won by like 5 or 6 seconds, which again in Formula 2 is very, very large for a winning margin. We don't see a winning margin like that very often. So a mightily impressive performance. And on a weekend where we saw the second Red Bull seat again be a real challenge for the driver in that situation, which at this point is Yuki Tsunoda. Who knows who it will be in 6 races' time. It could be Isaac Hadjar. It could be Liam Lawson again. It might even be Arvid Lindblad if he carries on the way he's going, because they're going to run out of drivers. But he is giving himself every opportunity, if he keeps driving like this, not only to win the Formula 2 championship, but to really put himself in with a chance of a Formula 1 seat next season, which is what they all want to do in this category. Obviously, they want to win it, but they want to put themselves in the shop window for F1 teams. And we saw Gabriel Bortoleto last season. He was affiliated with McLaren, but he's ended up with Sauber because he does such an incredible job in Formula 2 and went on to win the championship. So, it might not necessarily be with Racing Bulls, although it more than likely will be, but it does open a lot of doors if you can show I'm a multiple feature race winner in Formula 2. I've won the title, or I've at least pushed very hard for it. So, he's doing his future the whole world of good.
He really is. It's hugely impressive stuff. And we get soon to Silverstone, where he did the double last time in Formula 3. That's usually where we start to see negotiations going on in Formula 1. If he could replicate some results there, who knows what could be for Arvid Lindblad in terms of the future. He really could start to put pressure on those drivers above him. And Christian Horner has spoken out about him. Around this time, it was last year that he started to speak out about Arvid Lindblad. So very positive times for him coming up. I want to speak about another driver quickly, Martin, who is being talked about by many of the public in terms of what could be his future in terms of Formula 1. He did have a bit of a rocky couple of weeks, it's fair to say, but I think Alex Brundle summed it up very nicely, and he really drew a line in the sand under what was a tough time, and that was Alex Dunne. Great performance, wasn't it, by him? 19th, came through to second place. What do you make of him going forward now? He's the championship leader. I don't think he would have ever expected to be leaving Barcelona as the championship leader. Do you feel that would have done his hopes good in terms of McLaren, and what do you feel he needs to now do going forward in this championship?
Well, I think that for Alex, the focus immediately after Monaco was, okay, let's put together a clean weekend in Barcelona. don't need to win any races, don't even need to get any podiums, even though he did. But let's just make sure that we stay out of incidents and we start to rebuild the confidence. As I put it in my feeder series article, try to rebuild his confidence and his reputation after the incidents in Monaco. And I think that Alex has really started to do that. I think we've seen two sides to him so far this season. We've seen the race dominating side that we saw in Sakir and Imola, where he scythed through those slower cars. And then we've seen the strange incident-prone side that we also saw in Sakir and we saw in Monaco. But throughout everything, Alex has been really fast. When he had those incidents in Monaco, he had the incident with Rafael Villagomez in practice, puts the car on pole position. He has the incident at turn 1 that only caused such a massive pile-up because he was starting from pole position. So Alex has clearly got so much speed. He showed that again this weekend, where I know there was a big tyre offset, but there are a lot of guys that struggled to come through the field quite as quickly as Alex and Richard Verschoor did. And we saw that with him on the alternate strategy in the feature race as well. So he's clearly got pace. It's just about trying to refine his driving. It's something that he's spoken out a little bit about as almost an after effect of his Formula 3 season, in that last season where I think he finished 14th in the championship, he was not fighting at the front often. So when he had the opportunity to fight at the front, he had to take that opportunity, and it was almost a win or bust situation, even if that win was getting a few points. And he's just realigning that mentality, and I think that's still happening. I think it's also important to remember how young he is. He's not far out of series like GB3, where there's so much less media attention than you get in Formula 2. And I just think it's a case of, as I say, rebuilding that confidence, because he's got so much speed. He started to do that this weekend, albeit he did have the incident in practice with Victor Martins. And it's just a case of doing that. And I think once he's got a few consistent rounds, okay, you've done Barcelona, let's make sure we get through Austria, let's get through Silverstone. Once we've done those few rounds and we know that, and more importantly, the paddock knows that Alex is consistently clean and that Monaco was a one-off, then we can start thinking about the future. But I think for now, for Alex, it's just about focusing on F2. He's in such a good position that I think he's maybe best served to do that as well, given that he's leading the championship. And if he was to win the championship, then he'll have all sorts of options at the end of it.
Yeah, I think that's well put. I mean, both Arvid Lindblad and Alex Dunne, as you said, not long out of racing in the likes of F4 and GB3, and both rookies as well. They're in their first season of doing it. Didn't really get any experience last year, so for them to be fighting for wins and pole positions and fighting for the championship is hugely impressive. They kind of make the either end of a sandwich here of Richard Verschoor, Aaron, who has got the most experience on the grid. He's going to be the most experienced driver in Formula 2 by the end of the season. He approached Zach Brown after his Jeddah win and put a proposition forward to Zach Brown. He has shown his intention still to go to Formula 1. He's fighting for a Formula 2 title with MP Motorsport, the team who he got so much success with in the lower categories in the likes of F4. And so are we seeing like a similar story here to like Felipe Drugovich, who came through with MP and then finally got his success in Formula 2? Is it almost like a similar pattern here we're seeing with Richard Verschoor? Is this finally going to be his year?
It might well be. I mean, we saw with Drugovich, he eventually sort of found his happy place, didn't he, with MP Motorsport? He had the really strong rookie year. He went somewhere else and then went back to MP after not such a great second season. And it all came together for him, and he showed what he was really capable of. And I think Richard's showing that now. It took him some time to really show his quality in Formula 2, but when he showed it, it was amazing, and then usually stolen away from him through some sort of disqualification, and it's become something of a meme. But he's put that
another similarity.
Yeah, absolutely. He's put that to one side, and he's so focused on the job. And I asked him after the feature race with the podium, how much he needed that result after two tricky weekends in Imola and in Monaco, where the points weren't maybe so fruitful as he'd have liked, especially following the Jeddah win. But he said, we've just been working hard. We're focusing on one race at a time. He's not getting too carried away. He wants to challenge for the title, but he's also conscious of let's not get too carried away with it because there's a long way to go. A lot can happen. He's seen pretty much everything in Formula 2 by this point, so he knows the ups and downs, and he was quite steady in that. So I think that experience is paying off. He's using it to his advantage. He knows he doesn't have to be the fastest every weekend. He just knows he needs to keep that points tally ticking over quite steadily. When you get the opportunity to score big points, do it. Like with the sprint race, take the 10 points that's on offer. Grab that opportunity with both hands, and he did it. And then on Sunday, finish in third. I think he maybe felt he could have overtaken Sebastian Montoya for second, but DRS wasn't hugely powerful. Was it worth risking the tyres? Was it worth a lunge down the inside? We saw what happened with Mini and Montoya on Saturday. So bank the 15 points. And I think that's just experience playing out. And in a category that's as close and as competitive as Formula 2, that can be a decisive advantage because, as much as Dunne and Lindblad are incredibly fast, they might make a mistake. So that experience could come in very, very useful for Richard Verschoor.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's an unusually inexperienced front of the field, isn't it? You look Leo Fornaroli, Luke Browning, Arvid Lindblad, Richard Verschoor, Alex Dunne. It's only Jack Crawford, Richard Verschoor in that top 5 that's got that experience. So it's a very open Formula 2 field, probably the most open we've had in years. I'm glad you mentioned Mini and Montoya there, Aaron, because it's Prema I want to talk about next. Well, firstly, history repeated itself, didn't they? I mean, they crashed into each other in Formula 3 at turn 5. And then they crashed into each other again in Formula 2. They weren't teammates in Formula 3. It was Campos and Prema that year, wasn't it? But this year, again, crashing into each other, albeit this time Montoya was able to continue as teammates, Martin. And I think the team radio said it all, didn't it? Come on, guys. What's going on there, Prema? I mean, Montoya seems to have sort of found some confidence, doesn't he? I think the Fernando Alonso signings has possibly played some part in that. It's given him some confidence. But Gabriele Mini, we saw him have that brilliant qualifying. He came out the blocks flying at Australia. And then he's just kind of gone missing in this championship. And I think on this show, we sort of, at the start of the year, would have all predicted him as the champion. But I don't know what's going on with him. We look back at his last title runs in Frecker, in F3, in F4, always on the championship podium. Doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere near it right now, whereas Sebastian Montoya has gone the complete opposite direction in terms of his form. Well, what do you think is happening at Prema?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting scenario because if you look at our pre-season prediction podcasts before the year started, and we're all talking about, well, when's Gabriele Mini going to win his first race? And we're saying, actually, could Sebastian Montoya surprise people? He might do, but we don't expect him to be at the level of Mini. And actually, in the last few races, Montoya has qualified in the top 5 each time. He's qualified second twice in a row. In the top 3 twice in a row, and twice in 3 races. Sorry, and I really think that he's made some kind of big leap, and it's a leap that I always seem to think he might be able to make because he always had such insane pace making those runs from the back of the field in Formula 3 that you think surely if he can sort his qualifying out, there's a really strong driver in there, and so I'm really pleased for Sebastian that he seems to have found a bit of form. At the same time, Prema seems to have found a little bit of form with him for the first time consistently in feature races since the new generation of the Formula 2 car has come in. That's what makes it all the more confusing, almost, that Gabriele Mini can't seem to buy a result because he comes into the season, he challenged for the same F3 title that Luke Browning challenged for, that Arvid Lindblad challenged for, and you think, surely he's going to be up there at the front with those guys. You think Prema are going to rebuild. And it just doesn't seem to have happened for Gabriele. I think the incident on Saturday, it was adjudged to be Sebastian's fault. And I think there was, maybe as with a lot of incidents you see at Barcelona Turn 1, maybe Gabriele could give a bit more space, but ultimately Sebastian has understeered into him. But the underlying thing there is, that was a decent chance for Gabriele Mini to finish above his teammate. And I know it's a sprint race, but to just get a little bit of confidence that he can beat Sebastian, who's been qualifying really well recently. It didn't happen because of the incident, and then he, no realistic fault of his own, he stalled it when trying to spin it back round. I think that for Gabriele, I don't necessarily think he's completely out of the championship picture. We've seen guys come from a long old way back and bring it back. We've still got over the half the championship to go. He's only in 12th, so it's not like he's right at the back. He's already got 21 points. He's not so far away it's impossible, but certainly I expected more from Gabriele before the season started.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, hopefully this break might do him some good, and he can kind of come back from this and really get into a double header and get some points on the board. And that result for Sebastian will give him some confidence, but certainly crashing into each other wouldn't have given that team any spirit. And good for ART, I have to say, another struggling team with success here, getting some points on the board. And Ritomo Miata did have some pace, didn't he? It looked good, but just didn't seem to have the race pace to convert. But there was glimpses of hope for him as well. Let's go to another team who we've seen showing some good pace again, Aaron, High Tech. But another split scenario in Luke Browning, who is absolutely flying, and Dino Beganovic, who is just showing glimpses of hope. Two drivers, I'd say, who I would have put as title contenders. Luke Browning is very much showing to be one of those. Dino, not so much. I mean, why? Both of them, Luke Browning's a GB3 champion. Dino's a Frecker champion, so it should be on equal playing ground here. Don't know why it's not working out for Dino. He seems to have lost his confidence a bit, but Luke has got all the confidence in the world, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Luke Brown is absolutely on a roll, isn't he? He's picking up podiums and good results most weekends. And at one point, heading into Spain, he was, of course, leading the championship. So I think, like we mentioned with Felipe Drogovic and Richard Verschoor, it might just be of High Tech suits Luke Browning, and for some reason it's not suiting Dino Beganovic. The environment there just isn't working for him. Maybe it needs to be a different team. Obviously, he's worked with Prema before. I was surprised that he didn't move up to Prema alongside Gabriele Mini, but you never know. It could all change for next season. But we did see, obviously, in Imola that he's got the speed. It's a question of accessing it and making it consistent. And I also think, it shows the competitive level of this series and how close it is. It really rewards, first of all, doing a good job, and second of all, being consistent. And if you have any kind of fluctuation, you're not quite at it, it's going to cost you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positions on the grid in qualifying. You're going to struggle in the races. You're going to lose time in traffic. You're not going to score the points that maybe you should have if you had nailed your qualifying lap. This series punishes you really harshly, but that's why it's the level down from Formula One, because if you step up to Formula One and you make a single mistake, you are punished to the nth degree. It's brutal. So in that sense, you couldn't ask for a better training ground. But back to High Tech and Browning and Beganovic, it's fascinating to see how you can have the same team and such a split set of fortunes. Beganovic is 10th in the championship. He's ahead of Mini. He scored 17 points in the feature race at Imola, but Browning P5, and he's got podiums in all rounds bar one. Barcelona was the only weekend he didn't stand on the rostrum. I think he was on the podium 5 races running. From looking at it, he was as constant in the press conferences as myself and Martin. So it was just our weekly catch up with Luke Browning. So it shows what a cracking job he's doing. But it's so fascinatingly bizarre, isn't it? How you can have such different fortunes in the same team. But that's why we love sport, because now we want to see the recovery arc of Dino Beganovic and what can he do in the next 2 races.
I think just to jump in on that briefly, we've seen before with High Tech, Isaac Hadjar in his first season in the series with High Tech finishes 14th and then could have won the championship last season if not for some reliability issues. Paul Aaron, conversely, did a fantastic job with High Tech last year, coming off the back of Formula 3, same position as Isaac Hadjar, and again, was not far off winning the championship. So I think it just goes to show how different teams can suit different drivers. I think with Dino, he's shown, like you say, Aaron, he's got the speed at Imola. I don't know if his confidence took a bit of a knock after not qualifying brilliantly at Monaco and having the accident at Casino Square, which is quite a heavy one. But certainly I'd expect him to come back later in the summer.
Yeah, there are some drivers in there. I guess we would be certainly looking to be on a 2-year plan here, rather than a 1-year plan. Some drivers will accelerate their process, and Luke Browning maybe is on a bit more of an accelerated process than Dino might be, reassessing his options. And I want to get your thoughts in general on the triple header in just a second. I'll get your highlight of the weekend as well, and so do think about those, and we'll cast our net wide for that. And we've got some guest questions coming up too before we have a recap of the points. But first, before we do assess this triple header in general and the weekend, let's end on a bit of a feel-good story, Martin, and the Van Amersfoort Racing podium. We've touched on it a little bit already, but the podium for Rafael Villagomez from last all the way up to third place. In general, Van Amersfoort Racing had a superb weekend. All three of their F3 drivers went on the podium, and then Rafael Villagomez got a podium as well. This team's still progressing forward in this championship, aren't they? They're still fairly new to it. So this was a significant result for them. It'd been over a year since that win for Enzo Fittipaldi. So it'd been quite a long time coming for them, with two drivers who we wouldn't have really expected to get there. Villagomez was more just racking up a few points, and John Bennett's making quite a big leap up. So a significant result for them as a team.
Yeah, it's been a really big step up for Van Amersfoort this weekend. And like you touched on there in your little introduction, Ivan Dominguez winning in Formula 3 was nearly completely unexpected. It was a bit of a parting of the Red Sea moment for him, but it was fantastic that he was able to finish the job in what's the big anniversary year for them. And then you look at Formula 2 and Rafael Villagomez, it's no struggle no secret that he's struggled slightly in Formula 2 in his season so far in the category. But whatever you could say about his results, I think Rafael has always proven that he's a driver that teams like to work with. That's what they've always said about him. He's always proven that sometimes, if in the right circumstances, if there's points to pick up, he is actually in the positions to pick up those scraps at the bottom end of the points. And I think not necessarily this podium was coming, but when you saw the scenario and you saw that there were all these runners in the sprint race that had moved on to these new soft tyres, and you saw that someone was going to take advantage, I wasn't actually massively shocked that it was Rafael that was able to move himself into third place, because we've seen on previous occasions he can finish 7th, he can finish 8th when he's got that opportunity with the strategy. So I was really pleased for him. I was really pleased for Van Amersfoort. He's a lovely character in the paddock, and I think it's been a really successful weekend for them. We know that they've got the pace to win races, because like you say, we saw that with Enzo Fittipaldi in Saudi Arabia last year. It's just a question of, with these two young drivers, can they try to bring that forward a little bit more consistently and start scoring some more points?
Yeah, and I really hope they do. And as you said, Rafael Villagomez, he had that positive result at Bahrain, and this another big confidence booster for him. He had to wait for it in F3, and what a way to do it, right? On a significant weekend for them as a team after that first 1-2 finish in F3 with Portuguese driver Ivan Dominguez. Okay, let's look. Should we try and pick out our big winners and losers of that? Can be quite a harsh question, but I think we'll try and pick out the winners and losers, shall we, of the triple header in general. We'll start with the winners, shall we? Who do we reckon were the big winners of the triple header? Aaron, I'll come to you first for this. I mean, I look towards the likes of Jack Crawford, who was in very much on the back foot going into when you look at him off the back of Jeddah. I look towards Arvid Lindblad as well. Those look like the most significant gainers, and Luke Browning likewise. What do you think?
I think Alex Dunne has been the biggest winner. He took the feature race victory in Imola, beautifully done, nailed his overtakes, took the championship lead with that victory as well. Obviously, Monaco could have gone a lot better, but he's had a difficult week with the whole social media side of the sport. and that would have been difficult for him. And then to take all of those points in Barcelona, 20 points he came away with, despite taking a 16 place grid drop over the course of the weekend. It's super impressive on a track where you can't, well, I say you can't overtake. It's very difficult to overtake because of the types of corners you got there. So I think to make the progress that he did, obviously part of it was situational with the sprint race, but take the opportunity when it comes. He was in position and he took the gamble and it paid off handsomely. So a bit of an up and down roller coaster for Alex Dunne, but he's come out of it leading the way. So, he'll be very pleased with how he's attacked the start of the triple header and then come bouncing back from a very disappointing Monaco weekend.
Nice. Good answer. Martin, your biggest winner?
I'm actually, obviously, Arvid Lindblad, obviously Jack Crawford, but I'm going to go for someone that we mentioned earlier in the podcast, that being Sebastian Montoya. He'd only picked up a handful of points before the triple header, shocks everyone at Imola by sticking the car on the front row. And then he obviously stalls on the formation lap and stalls on the formation lap again in Monaco. And so there's a few bits for the team to iron out, and if they can fix that issue more consistently. But we spoke about him earlier. It's not he was not on our radar to be someone that was going to be consistently up there in the top three. I think I'd also go for someone that we've not mentioned quite as much. He didn't have quite as good a Barcelona weekend, but Luke Browning has still scored in almost every race. He's still consistently finishing on the podium. And he's just quietly, as he said to us before the start of the season, as he was going to try to do, he's just quietly starting to build a championship charge. He was leading the championship at one point this weekend, and he seems to be a driver that doesn't necessarily want or need to pick up those big race wins, as I've spoken about in the past. But as long as he can keep ticking over, pick up somewhere between 10 and 20 points every weekend, that's going to serve him really well, at least in the first half of this season.
Yeah, I was probably be in agreement with you actually on Sebastian Montoya. That's the person I'll go with. Okay, who needs to do the most work then? Biggest loser. Who fell back the most in the triple header? Do we feel who's got the most work to do? Aaron, yourself. Sorry, you're first. We're just going to go because of alphabetical order.
I'm used to it by now. Everyone pocket dials me by mistake because I'm at the top of their contacts list, but it's all good.
Yeah.
I think someone I would like to see a little bit more from over the next couple of weekends is Victor Martins, because the pace has been there and he's been in the front three basically every weekend except Barcelona, and yet he's not been anywhere near a race victory aside from Monaco, where obviously he was on the front row and had the first corner won, and then the accident happened. So it's been really sort of, it looks like it's about to happen for Victor, because he's threatened to do this basically ever since the start of last season. He's been taking pole positions, he's been fast. It's just not coming together for him in the way it did towards the end of 2023. And everyone was tipping him last year for the title, and a lot of people were tipping him for the title this year. It's just, for some reason, it's just not working out. I don't quite understand what's going on. They seem to be able to put a very good qualifying car together for him, and perhaps not such a good race car at ART. So, yeah, I'd like to see Victor basically get what he deserves over the next couple of weeks, which is a race win, whether that's in the sprint or whether that's on feature race Sunday. Either one will do him the world of good.
Good answer. And yourself, Martin?
Yeah, I'll firstly agree with Aaron in terms of Victor Martins. And I'll pick up on, you were talking about ART. I think it might be almost a wider ART issue, in that last season they seem to have fixed the qualifying gremlins relatively quickly. But in terms of the race pace, we saw during the triple header at Imola and at Barcelona, Ritomo Miata had qualified relatively well, or had found himself higher up the grid and was just falling down the order. We've seen with Victor Martins in Jeddah, he qualified in the top three, finished fifth. In Zakir, he only was able to finish third. He was quite a way off the winner, Alex Dunne, in the end. And I just think ART haven't quite proven to me that they've got that race-winning pace. And I think that's starting to maybe appear, considering that Victor was not able to work his way up particularly quickly in both races this weekend until the alternate strategy came to the fore and until the sprint race safety car came in. I think that's just starting to appear that might be maybe more of an issue than we thought. It's maybe not just a luck thing, and maybe ART haven't quite figured out the new car still yet in terms of race pace. In terms of my biggest recovery, I'm actually going to go with Pepe Marti. I think he's shown that he's got a lot of pace. Campos have shown that they've got a lot of pace. But after he experienced a bit of a learning year last year, finishing 14th in the championship, winning the last sprint race in Abu Dhabi this year, with Arvid Lindblad as a teammate, I think everyone knew that Pepe really needed to crack on and really have a successful year and finish, minimum top 5 in the championship. He's 7th at the moment, but he only scored in one race in the triple header, in the feature race on Sunday, where he finished 6th. And I just think that there's so much more to come from Pepe. We know he's got the pace. We know how strong his Campos team is because he worked with them last year. He worked with them in Formula 3, and Isaac Hadjar nearly won the title last year. He's only 38 points away from the championship lead, and he's only 30 points away from his teammate Arvid Lindblad. So it's by no means done. He's still helping Campos to put together a really strong teams championship campaign where they're at the top of the leaderboard. But I just think with the pace that Arvid is showing, with the ruthlessness of the Red Bull program, I just think that there's a little bit more to come from Pepe in that sense.
Yeah, we're in agreement again. Best qualifying result for him of 7th in Formula 2, and I think that is just what is letting him down, and he's just not getting in the top 10 enough. He's the guy that qualifies 11th 3 times this season, isn't he? Okay, let's wrap up with a highlight of the weekend. This is something new for the show this time. I want you to leave your highlight in the weekend in the comments below. We're going to start with Fraser. I asked him from a sun lounger somewhere to send his highlights of the weekend. This can be of anything. It can be the result. It can be a one-liner Alex Brundle said over the weekend, cool-down room comments, something that was said in the press conference maybe. It can be anything from a Formula 2 weekend. And this is what Fraser came up with.
Hello chaps, hope you're having a good podcast whilst I'm sat on a beach being a part-timer. I'm not sure if you can hear the waves in the background, but it is lovely. Not to rub it in too much. Formula 2 this weekend, what a weekend of action, guys. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Feature race, Arvid Lindblad. Can I start actually by giving a shout out to Chris, because at the back end of last podcast, we obviously did some predictions for round number 6 in Spain, and Mr. Chris McCarthy predicted a Campos win at home and Arvid Lindblad being the winning driver. And take a bow, son. That's a cracking prediction. Absolutely spot on. And what a lap by Arvid Lindblad in qualifying to set it up for the weekend. And he brought it home in the feature race, didn't he? Calm, composed, showed good pace. So, brilliant performance by Arvid Lindblad. And you get plenty of rookie drivers in Formula 2 who take a bit of time to get up to speed, but when they do, they're almost unstoppable. I think of Oscar Piastri in 2021, obviously winning the final 5 feature races of the season. And I just wonder whether Arvid Lindblad could potentially do something similar and really take off from here. But yeah, cracking weekend for Richard Verschoor as well. Obviously that crazy sprint race win. Alex Dunne as well was another driver who did really, really well. Shout out to Rafa Villagomez, who got up on the podium for the first time. Cracking weekend for him as well. And I think that's my moment of the weekend, chaps, is Rafa Villagomez. Getting a podium. He's been in Formula 2 for a couple of years now. With VAR, and absolutely brilliant, absolutely buzzing for VAR, absolutely buzzing for Rafa Villagomez. It's been a long time coming, so I think that's my moment of the weekend. Enjoy the rest of the podcast, chaps, and I will catch you for the next round in Austria.
So that is what Fraser went with. It was Rafael Villagomez finishing in 3rd place. I think a nice one to kick us off with. Okay, you know the score, Aaron, alphabetical order. Your highlight of the Formula 2 weekend from Barcelona. Over to you, sir.
So initially I was going to go with the Victor Martins Alex Dunne pit lane entry incident, but I thought that might be a bit controversial. It was just a very interesting thing to see. It's the sort of thing, a bit like the Monaco Turn 1 incident. It's the sort of thing that should happen a lot more than it does. But testament to the skill and professionalism of these drivers, it doesn't happen that often. And I think that was just an unfortunate coincidence. But I'm actually going to go for Richard Verschoor, and he's reset his championship charge. It was just looking like it was starting to fade away, and obviously with the tardy getaway on Saturday afternoon, it looked like he was set for no points in the sprint race. And yet the racing gods intervened and presented him the opportunity to go and collect 10 of them, and he did. And then he added 15 on Sunday with another excellent drive. I think we're seeing Richard really it's a coming of age season, I think, for him. Regardless of whether he wins the championship or not, he's now putting himself in a position where he's got the confidence to go to the team boss, the CEO of the best team in Formula One right now, in Zach Brown, and say, hey, you need to have a look at what I'm doing because I'm good and you need to pay attention. And the thing is, if he's got the confidence to go and do that, he can go to any of the other teams. And McLaren, we know, they've got fingers in many racing pies. So if he does go in and work with McLaren, they've got their IndyCar program. I think they're doing a WEC program. Am I correct in that? And they've got, they've got so many different options for him. And they need simulator drivers as well. The driver in loop simulator, we've heard dozens of times about the drivers back in the simulators making a difference for Red Bull and for Mercedes and helping them on their way to wins and world championships. And I know Richard Verschoor won't want to be a simulator driver, but they are crucial. So if he can fulfill a role in that sense, he's still playing a massive part in a Formula One operation. And that, I think, is his end goal. So it was another very good weekend for him. I think that's my big highlight, is the fact that he's turned that around and is now reset his sights back on the championship.
I'm sorry, Aaron, I'm going to play host here. So we have Rafael Villagomez podium, and Aaron is crash in pit lane between Victor Martins and Alex Dunne. So two great answers, I have to say, here. So it's over to Martin. It's you can say anything you like now. Great answer, Aaron. Loved it. Martin, you next. No,
I'm going to go for Dunne and Martins as well. I was in my university exam. It was completely surreal. I opened my phone. Dunne and Martins have crashed again. No, they haven't. I'm going back to my essay. Open my phone again, but they have actually crashed. Crazy. Anyway, that's not actually what I'm going for. I'm going for Montoya and Mini in the sprint race. My first thought was, but it's only the sprint race. But this was only the sprint race where Jack Crawford and Leo Fornaroli fell from podium positions. Alex Dunne and Richard Verschoor rose up from being out of the points and 8 laps ago, not likely to score points. It's a 20-point swing in the championship between some of the big contenders. And then on Sunday, Leo gets more bad luck where his tyres weren't fitted. Okay, not bad luck, a mistake from the team where his tyres weren't fitted before the 3 minutes before the starting lights for the formation lap. And it's just such a big swing, and suddenly from Fornaroli being 8 laps away from third place and going into the feature race with some confidence, he suddenly come out of the weekend with 2 points. And Alex Dunne has 21, Richard Verschoor has 35. And it's those moments, even in a sprint race, that can change the courses of championships. And I think Leo will get his win. Leo will come back into it. But I just think for the moment, for momentum, especially with the fact that we've got a 4-week break before we go to Spielberg, that could be a big moment in the first half of this season. Yeah.
No, that's it was a significant moment, wasn't it? So I think some great answers overall. I'll have to throw one in there, won't I? I've got to say, there was a great moment in the cool-down room where Arvid Lindblad was sat next to Richard Verschoor. I don't know if you guys remember this. and they saw an incident at turn 1, and they compared it to their own crash, I think, the day before, and just sort of laughed it off. And I thought that was quite a good moment. And they just didn't care. They actually were laughing about it, and you almost forgot that. I'm like, they actually crashed into each other the day before. So that was quite a cool moment. And Arvid was like, "Yeah, you crashed into me there," and I think they were in disagreement, but didn't really care anymore. So that was quite a cool moment. And another camera being wiped out as well. The guys had gone and put a really nice camera in the gravel, and Victor Martins went and wiped it out. So that was another. Callum Boysen took the one out at Imola, and Victor Martins took this one out. So always love those shots until they get wiped out on lap 1. So there you go. I'll go for those. There you go. Put yours in the comments below. Honestly, you can go absolutely anything now you've heard those answers. Thank you for this opportunity. I think it will be Fraser will be back next time, I promise. And it will be on the 30th of June at the next show. Let's go through some points, shall we? Drivers' points. The top 10, Alex Dunne does lead the championship as we head out of the triple header and into another double header, which will be at the Red Bull Ring next time out. Alex Dunne is our championship leader with 87 points. Richard Verschoor has 84, and then Arvid Lindblad 79. Jack Crawford, P4 for him after 2 fourth places. He has 73, along with Luke Browning. In Teams Championship, Campos Racing now lead on 128. They passed High Tech TGR, who just had 1 point score. MP Motorsport are third on 96. Then it's Dams Lucas Oil in 4th ahead of Rodin Motorsport in Victor. Prema in 7th place now. They did move up a little bit ahead of ART. Then it's AIX, Van Amersfoort with that podium ahead of Trident. That is all for this evening's show. We are back on the 30th of June, and that will be post Red Bull Ring. Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to have me. And the guys will be back with Fraser on the 30th of June. But that is all. Get some rest, guys. You absolutely deserve it after that. We will all see you on the 30th of June. But for now, it is goodbye. Thank you very much.